That's Felix Rosenquist, who gets a great start in the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. The Meyer Shank Honda leads them down the front straight.
The Fro Show with the jump. Watch the yellow and red car of Alex Palou looking 3 wide, but Will Power to the outside.
Power sweeps around and gets Rosenquist in turn 1.
They get through turn 1 fine. Now it's the fountain side by side. Doesn't normally work here. Christian Lundgaard slotting in behind Scott Dixon, being smart about it here. So far, the fireworks have not happened. Yeah, you see now on board with Rossi in the 7 into pit lane. This is not a scheduled stop, Dylan.
They had a left rear issue that they saw on the data, and this hurts because they had started on the alternates. I guess it's a good thing because they're done with them now. They'll go to sticker primaries here, but a lot of ground to make up for Rossi.
Of course, the rules dictate you have to run each tire compound in the race. Let's see on board now. This is Pato O'Ward. That's Alex in front of him. Oh, he hit by his own teammate in the fountain.
Let's show you this move for third place. Here is Marcus Ericsson on fellow Swede.
Just clinical stuff, textbook up the inside there. No defense from Rosenquist.
Line. Inside one only.
Got some news from race control, and it's not good if you're a Pato O'Ward fan of Arrow McLaren. He has to perform a drive-through penalty, avoidable contact.
Oh, Christian Rasmussen heavy into the wall. That looks like the exit of turn 4 maybe.
Yeah, I think it is, guys. We've seen a lot of drivers clip the exit of turn 4, never with these consequences though.
Yeah, it broke mid-corner there.
See where that left rear made contact with the concrete, and then 4 corners later, you can just see maybe an issue with the toe link there where it might have broke on the left rear from the earlier contact.
Harvey just an innocent victim there, nowhere to go.
We go back racing here at the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. And the last 2 guys to win the last 2 Indianapolis 500s are first and second in this race.
Team Penske, and then Andretti as Ericsson and Herta looking pretty racy down shoreline.
We saw Joseph Newgarden almost doing his Indy 500 trick, trying to weave down the front straightaways. We see Lundgaard making a move there on Kyle Kirkwood into turn 1.
Graham's been fairly happy, a little slow on the fuel. This may be costly. It doesn't look like it's flowing. That is going to ruin Rahal's any chances.
Oh, no.
Sideways. Is it going?
Oh, no.
You saw the fueler with his left hand twisting like there was a valve or something that he was working to open there.
Yeah, you can manually open up the butterfly and get the fuel flowing, but devastating result there for Graham Rahal with such a strong weekend.
Oh, there goes that.
And now, Tim Cindric giving Newgarden Herta updates.
There he is. Here they come, and he's dragging Alex Palou along with him. This 2-car fight could very quickly become a 4-car fight in the closing 10 laps.
He's close, guys. This is as close as he's been, but you can tell by that acceleration, Dixon is using the button a little more. A few more seconds, use that lap.
15 seconds left for Newgarden. He does not use it on that run. Oh! I thought he was going to send it.
Here comes Joseph Newgarden up into turn 9. He knows the pressure's coming from behind in Colton Herta, and there is traffic up ahead.
Yep, you've got rookie Kiffin Simpson, then Nolan Siegel in the red-white car, Santino Ferrucci, and Newgarden stalls in the hairpin.
Oh my goodness, Herta and Palou just swapping.
Here's a replay of what happened to the 2.
Oh. Hit up the back by Colton Herta, and don't forget the gearbox actuator is on the right-hand side of the gearbox.
If Scott Dixon can hang in there for the length of this back straight to turn 9, he is as good as home. Here it is, turn 9. You know, he's laid back. He takes everything in his stride, but he is very intense inside that helmet. Scott Dixon, it took him 9 tries to win here at Long Beach. He's had podiums since, but he's going to go back to the winner's circle. Scott Dixon wins the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach in the most improbable way.
Nicely done.
Up next, it's the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix, Sunday, April 28th. Watch it at 1 p.m. on NBC.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to episode number 70. 5 of the I see you were waving.
Yeah, I was waving at you. Sorry, I was just saying hello to everyone.
Oh, that's all right. But welcome to the Push to Pass podcast, episode number 75. I am Derik Vance, and as you see here with me, joining me as usual is Josh Roberts and Michael Monroe, as usual, like I said. And what a banger, so to say, this evening. First and foremost, we are live now on YouTube, X, and Twitter and Instagram. So a little bit of a different platforms that we are coming from this evening. Like we said, in tonight's episode, we will discuss and preview this weekend's race, the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, from the streets of Long Beach, California. And then we'll also be joined by some amazing guests as well. First, at the bottom half of the hour, we'll be joined by turn reporter on IndyCar Radio, Nick Yeoman. He's going to discuss this weekend's race as well, and then also discuss the IndyCar season so far as a whole. I know we're only 2 races into it, but we'll discuss that. And then for all you bettors out there, Mike will be joining us to preview his upcoming bets for the weekend. And then we'll also get the official weather report from the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast. So that is going to be all here within the next hour. Like I said, you see the 2 gentlemen that are always here week to week joining me, Josh Roberts and Michael. Fellas, good evening, and glad to be back and glad to have a week of racing coming up here this weekend.
Oh yeah, definitely. Can't wait. Seems like it's been forever, and this is one problem IndyCar has, in my opinion. But we're not going to talk about the problems. We're going to talk about Long Beach coming up this weekend. It's exciting. I can't wait. There shouldn't be anything that keeps people from going on and watching this race this weekend because no basketball, maybe NASCAR, but who cares about NASCAR? We are moving forward, and we're gonna have a great time at Long Beach, I bet.
Yeah, very excited to be back and very excited for racing this weekend. Josh, as you can tell, yes, I do watch NASCAR. I do enjoy NASCAR, but you can still watch IndyCar race, and you'll still have plenty of NASCAR to watch because they run way too many laps. But yeah, very excited to talk IndyCar and excited to talk about Long Beach this coming weekend.
Just one more thing. I just wanted to send our condolences out to the family of I'm going to butcher this name, Shigaki Hattori, former Japanese IndyCar driver. He raced all the way back. He was 61. He passed away this past week. He raced in a couple 500s. And I think he raced from like 98 to 2000 something. But just wanted to pass our condolences along to his family. If anyone happens to see over in Japan, it'd be awesome.
Josh, I'm glad you did that because first it slipped my mind, so apologies for that. And 2, there was no way into Hades that I was going to be able to pronounce that. So you took a better crack at it than what I had for sure. But yes, you are absolutely right. We do have a race this weekend. Thank heavens, or whoever the God is that you guys pray to out there. It seems like it's been forever since we discussed what took place at the Thermal Club, and I'm thinking maybe next weekend or next week's show. And I know Michael's going to absolutely love this. The hot button topic that is being discussed. I know Nathan Brown put a piece out today. I know we put some stuff out, some ideas out. We may talk 2026 schedule next year because I'm kind of curious to see what that's going to look like with the addition of Arlington. Will Thermal get taken off there? What's it look like? But you know what? We may our show next week may revolve around that as we we'll wrap up Long Beach next week, and then maybe we'll take a look at the 2026 schedule and have a discussion about that. But obviously, First and foremost, we do have some business to attend to, and that business is obviously previewing this weekend's race, as Josh just alluded to there. The Acura, I guess, depending on how you look at it, Grand Prix of Long Beach. First and foremost, as we always do, here is the course and what it's going to look like. Obviously, I opened up by saying we are going to the streets of Long Beach, California. I've never been there. Would love to do it. Might be a little bit too many people for my liking, but would love to maybe check it out once, check it off the proverbial bucket list there a little bit. But we're going to go 90 laps. That's going to be 177.12 miles. If you want some more track info, this is going to be a 1.968 mile, 11 turn temporary road circuit, which encircles the Long Beach Convention Center. That also houses, rather, if you're into family fun and you're going to the race, a family fun zone with numerous displays during the race weekend as well. Also, if you didn't know, the track does run down scenic Shoreline Drive, which I'm sure Josh has visited numerous times. It also offers numerous overtaking opportunities, including turn one, which gets a little hairpin of a turn, a little hairy down there in turn one right before the front stretch right is very critical indeed. So that is what the course looks like. Let's get everyone else back here. I don't know what I did, but wow, that was interesting. Fellas, first and foremost, before we dig into a little more, we also have a hot lap courtesy of Colton Herta that we'll play here shortly. Initial thoughts on what Long Beach is going to look like this weekend.
Looks like it's going to be a good time. Can't wait to hear the weatherman later on, see what our weather is going to be. That track doesn't look treacherous, but there looks like there could be some tricky parts. Can't remember looking at the map. There was one turn. I think it was 12 or 13. I don't know what it is, but it looks like it's a pretty looping turn. So that might be an interesting turn to look at when you get to the first lap or so, or getting down to the nitty gritty at the end. If cars are bunched up there going into that turn, it may end some drivers' days. But it looks like a fun track. If I ever get a chance, I'd like to get out to Long Beach. California is not my favorite state, but if there's a sporting event going on, I'll put my hatred aside and head out there.
Well, I think it's time for a road trip maybe next year. But yes, looking forward to this weekend. Very interesting track for sure around the fountain there. But yeah, a lot to do for the family. And one thing I'll be keeping an eye on is, did we get the hybrid systems fixed? And, how that, kind of changes the race up. I guess these first several races this year will definitely be different with the hybrid system. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
I'm kind of shocked, Josh, that Michael didn't touch on your favorite topic. I know there's an article written on Racer Magazine, I believe Marshall Pruitt, talking about how much tires are going to play a role in this weekend's race. So I'm kind of surprised that Michael didn't come out of the box talking about your favorite topic there in tires. But like I said, we do have a hot lap on the Long Beach course, courtesy of Colton Herta. So let's check that out. So yes, that was a hot lap last year by Colton Herta. So interesting circuit. I know I have a race sim, and which I haven't played in quite a long time. I may need to pass it down to Josh because I know he's dying to get into one, and Michael as well. But the Xbox One game that I have actually does have the Long Beach course on it, so I've been able to race on it a handful of times, and definitely looks as treacherous and as realistic as we just witnessed there on the helmet cam, courtesy of Colton Herta. Let's take a look at the weekend schedule here as well. Obviously, we're going to get things kicked off on Friday, April 11th, 6 p.m. All these are Eastern Standard Times, so you don't have to adjust your clocks. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FS1. Keep that in mind. That is going to be where the first practice of Long Beach is going to be televised. And then a quick turnaround there, Saturday morning, 11:30 a.m. is going to be practice number 2. Again, keep in mind that's going to be on FS1. And then later in the day, around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, again, we're going to switch over to FS2. So FS1, then FS2 for the NTT IndyCar Series qualifications. And then when we decide who the lineup's going to be, who's going to be on pole for Sunday's race, Sunday around noon, just as you're getting out of church, I know Josh will. 12 o'clock noon, high noon there. We're going to have the warm-up session on FS1, and then you can switch over to the main channel on Fox, whatever that local Fox channel is. Around 4:30 p.m. is when the green flag drops. So that is what the weekend schedule looks like. Anything else, fellas, you need to add? So far, we've seen the track layout. We've seen some track facts. We took a hot lap with Colton Herta, and then we seen the schedule. What do you had so far?
Got to give you kudos on converting those times to Eastern Standard Times. I mean, those are Pacific, and just rattling those numbers off pretty quickly is it's a good thing for you. Can't wait. I'll watch a little bit of practice on Friday. I've got some part time. I'll watch it while I'm doing part time. But that window there on Sunday for about 4:00. There's one other big sporting event that's happening during that time, but I'm sure that that's not too big of a tradition, as we all know. So instead of looking at the green jacket, we'll be looking at the green flag, and can't wait to see who comes out ahead on Sunday.
Yeah, one thing watching that video with Colton Herta, man, I forgot how quick that lap is. So that race will fly by, and yeah, I mean, it's just with the schedule. Yet again, I hate to be the beat the dead horse, but without a streaming service that covers that, as far as having that alternate streaming platform like we did with Peacock, how many people get FS2 for qualifying? That's gonna be a little disheartening for some people, but the main thing is we get the race on Sunday, so on regular Fox. So that's the main thing we need to worry about, because that's when the ratings count the most.
Michael, you bring up an interesting thought that it didn't cross my mind until you mentioned that. And obviously, the race is what the ratings are judged on, just as you mentioned. But do you think IndyCar, Michael or Josh, do you think IndyCar is going to have an issue this weekend where they're bouncing back and forth between FS1 and FS2? Obviously, they're going to go to the main network for the race on Sunday. But any issues viewership wise, like Michael just talked about there, bouncing back between FS1 and FS2?
It could happen, but I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I'd rather them just stick. I hope we get a. I misunderstood your question. Can you ask that question again? I don't want to seem smart again.
Is the viewership going to go down? Obviously, like Michael said, the main focus of IndyCar is the viewership they get on Sunday. But with people have to bounce back between FS1 and FS2, is that going to affect viewership?
Yeah, it might. It might a little bit. But I think the Fox network would be more, they would be okay with losing some viewers throughout for like the qualifications and the practices. I think their main number they're wanting to look at is what they're getting on their main network on Fox on Sunday. So if they get 100,000 for each FS1 and FS2, I think Fox would be happy with that. I think they're hoping they're get at least 1.2 million views on Sunday is what I'm hoping they bet.
Michael, anything else to add to that?
I guess it's me. Maybe just the whole having to search for stuff is a little bit more challenging, and maybe not so much for the IndyCar, age gap from younger to older, but those older generational people that have been watching for years and years and years, they don't want to search around all these different channels to find what they want to watch. So, that is the one good thing about having the IndyCar series on Fox is that a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some people just leave their TV on a certain channel and it happens to be their local Fox or their, local whatever. And so we're going to pick up views that way as well. So it does help us on Sunday, but just the bouncing back and forth between this channel, that channel, having to, if you're a diehard fan like me, you're having to, highlight what days are on what channel and things like that. This isn't an IndyCar problem. This is every series problem. This is an everything problem. When you look at all different sports have, multiple channels they're on. So it isn't an IndyCar problem. It's something that us as people who are trying to promote the sport, Fox who's trying to promote the sport, we really have to be aware of when these, when the events are and what channel they're on to communicate that with the people better.
Of the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach is waiting for the computer to catch up. There we go. Going to look at some of the past winners. There we go. A little bit of technology snafu there. Watching the opening mantra there, as you see, Scott Dixon is going to be the returning and defending champion. Then you have Kyle Kirkwood in 2023. Joseph Newgarden scored a win back in 2022. Colton Herta in 2021. And then Alexander Rossi back-to-back in 2018, 2019. Scott Dixon again in 2015, a young Scott Dixon, I may add. And then Will Power collected a win at Long Beach there in 2008. So a lot of returning winners that are currently still on the NTT IndyCar Series circuit. So hopefully we'll be able to see if one of those guys or somebody else, a newcomer, is able to add their name to the long list of winners. And fellas, I don't know if you realize this or not, but they're going to be celebrating this weekend the 50th running of the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. So 50 years that race has been in place. So definitely going to somebody's going to take home some nice hardware and then be able to lay claim that they won the 50th anniversary of this race. We'll get back into discussing what we're going to see this weekend. Obviously, we're going to be joined here in a couple minutes by Nick Yeoman of IndyCar Radio. But before we do that, let's thank a few folks that make it possible here for the Push to Pass podcast to exist. And first and foremost, huge thank you goes to Always Ready 1776. For all your patriotic apparel, headwear, and more, go check out Always Ready 1776, and you can find them on the web at alwaysready1776.com. And if you do choose to buy something there at that store, that site, make sure you use that promo code you see right there on your screen, Push to Pass, for 10% off of your order. Also, huge thank you to Gettum Associates for all of your home design and remodeling needs. Remember, it's Gettum Associates, and you can find them again on the web as well at gettum.com. And if you browse their gallery there, and you do choose to use their services, make sure you use Push to Pass right down there at the bottom for $250 off any design service. So huge thank you both to Always Ready 1776 and Gettum Associates for being proud sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. So getting back into things as we're being joined here a little bit early. So we will we'll slide this gentleman up. But definitely you'll hear this gentleman's voice if you listen to IndyCar Radio. I do also believe that he has dabbled in calling NASCAR races here at the Brickyard as well. And then for all you football fans out there, which is me and Josh, and I'm not sure if Michael Dabb's in pro football or not, but this gentleman is a avid Carolina Panthers fan. How that is a lot to endure, being a Carolina Panthers fan for sure. But Nick Yeoman is going to join us here for the next few minutes. Nick, first and foremost, huge thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule this week to step on here. A lot to discuss when we talk about the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach.
Yeah, no doubt, Derek. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, I mean, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, and there has not been a whole lot to get me excited about over the last 5 or 6 years. But, yeah, it's been a fun start to the IndyCar Series season. Obviously, if your name is Alex Palou, you've got a lot to be excited about. And obviously, it's a big weekend for IndyCar. Heading out to Long Beach, it's always such a prestigious weekend. And the fact that it's the 50th edition of the race is a big deal as well. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and happy to chat with y'all.
Yeah, it's definitely been Alex Palou's world, as you just mentioned. And I know, obviously, you being a turn reporter and you got your ear to the grindstone back in the paddock. What is the feel going into Long Beach? Obviously, Alex Palou has taken the first 2 races, and he's head and shoulders right now above the rest of the field. So what's the feel and what the things that you're hearing from the paddock about going forward and how to knock off Alex Palou this weekend at Long Beach?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big storyline. Is it's just how terrifying it has to be for the rest of the paddock to let this guy get off to a quick start, win in the first 2 races, and then you start thinking about some of the tracks that we go to. Alex doesn't have a win at Long Beach, but he's been pretty solid there. And then you go to Barber Motorsports Park. That's where he got his first IndyCar win. He's won a couple races on the IMS road course, and of course, he's been no slouch in the 500, nearly beating Elio a few years ago for his 4th win. So I think inside the paddock, it's like, hey, we really shouldn't have given this guy a head start, and now you got to find a way to beat him. Obviously, you go to Long Beach, and I always, look back to St. Pete because it's a street course, and the Ganassi cars were really, really strong there. Andretti Global always has a really good street course program as well. So, yeah, there's quite a few storylines, but I think the biggest one has to be how can you stop Alex Palou, because he is on a heater, winning these past couple championships and actually getting off to such a quick start.
I think the interesting thing about the start that Alex Palou has gotten off to, and I know all 3 of us have talked about this on the show, is usually it takes Alex Palou usually the first half of the year to get his legs underneath him, and usually around Detroit or mid-Ohio, that's where you see Alex Palou kind of kick it into gear, so to say. And I think you're right when you say how scary it is in the other drivers in the paddock that Alex Palou has gotten off to such a fast start in 2025, because historically, like I said, it takes him, the first half of the year to get going, and then when he gets going, the sky's the limit for him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of followed. That was the career path for Scott Dixon for so many years. You think of some of the championships that Dixon won, they were always like back half of the season. You couldn't get him outside of the top 5. He was on the podiums every week, and that's how Dixon ran down, quite a few guys over the years to win championships. So, yeah, I think the most impressive thing about Alex Palou is just that he does not beat himself. And even on weekends where he's not winning, if he's got a top 5 car, he comes away with a top 5 finish. It's so rare. I think back to Iowa last year where he had that accident, and I just remember my jaw almost hitting the floor because it's just not something you see. Alex doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't end up against the outside wall. He doesn't tear up. So he's at the top of his game. He's in his prime right now, and it is truly something special. And yeah, I think everybody within the paddock is going to have to dig deep to kind of shake this guy off this pedestal that he has rightfully put himself on over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and definitely he a favorite week in and week out, the start that Alex has gotten off to. But is there anybody else outside of Alex Palou that could walk into this weekend and be like, you know what, I'm going to be the one that knocks Alex off the perch?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the beauty of street course racing, right? Is it's first of all, Long Beach, I mean, historically, you start up front, you finish up front. It is a place where qualifying is so very important. But it's also street course racing. It's very hard to string together consistent laps. So if anybody can put together a really strong lap in qualifying, you put yourself ahead of Palou, you've got a chance. I look personally at the Andretti Global Group over the last couple of years. Their street program has just been really, really good. You think back to Kyle Kirkwood getting a win there. Colton Herta's been very, very strong. Marcus Ericsson's starting to come along. His first year, obviously last year with the team was a disaster. It was just, the anvil falling out of the sky and bad luck after bad luck. But Andretti Global's been really, really strong. I think Colton Herta is poised to challenge Alex Palou for the championship. And Kirkwood's another one who I just think Kyle's got a feel for that place at Long Beach. And I think both of those guys have a shot to knock Palou off this weekend.
One name, Nick, you didn't mention, and I'm kind of curious to hear this, Pato O'Ward. He's been so close so many times, obviously falling short because of Alex Palou. I think there's a little bit of a rivalry brewing there between Alex Palou and Pato O'Ward. But what do you think of O'Ward and Arrow McLaren this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like their street course package has been as strong as maybe some of the other top teams like Penske and Andretti and Ganassi over the last couple of years. But, Pato came into the season and he was he didn't hide from the fact that his goal was to win the championship this year and obviously, win the Indy 500, which he's been so close to as well. So I was impressed with the pace that he showed at Thermal. Obviously, I don't think a whole lot's going to transfer over from Thermal to Long Beach with it being such a different racetrack. But that was the type of momentum that I think Pato needs. I just think he's the type of guy where spirits are high and he can string together some strong runs. He's a guy that can contend every weekend. But Arrow McLaren also has to do a good job of not beating themselves. They've made some mistakes over the years with some strategy calls and some missteps on roads. So we know that they can put it all together, but it's seeing it consistently, which is what we still need to see. But I mean, there's no doubt when Pato jumps behind the wheel of a race car, he can do some special things. So yeah, he'll be a factor this weekend for sure.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, but I still believe, and I've said this strongly, I think Arrow has a lot to prove. I think this year they have a lot to prove. They've been hyped up a lot, I think, but it just seems like the results just have not been there. So kind of curious to see the direction that they're going in, getting younger, if that heeds back results for Zach Brown and everyone over at Arrow McLaren. Josh, Michael, I'm going to let you guys jump in here. I know both of you have a few questions for Nick, so either one of you have the floor.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for joining us tonight. I really enjoy your insight on X and follow you there. So One of the big questions I have, and I've heard a lot of, announcers that are not visible on screen talk about how they paint a picture of the race, because when you watch on TV, you can see what's going on, but when you're listening while driving down the road, you have to kind of paint that picture. Can you talk about how you do that?
Yeah, it's a great question, Michael, and I apologize for being a guy that's hiding. I wasn't sure to clear out my the webcam here to be use the video for it to join you guys. But in true radio guy, I guess that's what it's all about. But yeah, it's a great question, and it's especially for folks that want to get involved and do this and work in this business. That's what it's about in radio, is knowing that your listeners can't see anything. And Doug Rice from the Performance Racing Network, who just retired a year ago on the NASCAR side, he had a line that's always stuck with me for many, many years, is that, we're in the transportation business. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, you're listening to the radio when you're, moving up and down the interstate, but it's really a different meaning. We're in the business of transporting listeners to the racetrack. I want to take folks that are listening, and I want to put them right next to me. And whether it's a scissor lift out on a street course, or whether it's up in the basket in turn 1 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So yeah, it's being as descriptive as possible. It's describing the colors and the emotions of the event and the backstories with the drivers. That's always the kind of things that I've tried to hit on over the years. And yeah, my goal is always to just pretend that anyone that's listening is right next to me, and that they're seeing exactly what I'm seeing. So it's cool. It's different too, because on television you've got the advantage of having the moving picture. So many times announcers can just lay out. It wouldn't sound right to hear a TV announcer talking as much as we do on radio and describing everything. But on the radio side, that's what you have to do, and it's something that I really enjoyed doing over the years.
Yeah, I think back to actually listening to a podcast from Mike Joy. You talked about NASCAR, and Mike Joy was talking about that. So when he talked about, painting that picture, that's always something that I found very interesting to see, how different people approach that and things like that. My next question is, so who's the biggest draft pick that you need for the Carolina Panthers? Because they have a lot of issues. And I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I grew up my first few years being a Carolina Panthers fan, but I finally transitioned. I was an Indianapolis Colts fan before I moved to Indy, and now living here, it's even better.
Yeah, Michael, that's just proof that you're a lot smarter than me, that you knew to get off the train. Listen, the Panthers a lot of help. They got a good young quarterback, I think, in Bryce Young. He showed a little something towards the end of last year. So, you build up the offensive line, defensive line. Their defense was really bad. So, they need a lot. I'll put it that way, because it's been nothing but 5 and 6 win seasons over the last several years. I appreciate it, though.
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, I really appreciate you coming on, and I think, Josh, you have some questions as well now.
Yeah. Again, thanks for coming on, Nick. I've just got a couple questions. We've had a couple of your colleagues on, Jay Query and Mark Janes. What is it like working with those two? I know you guys feed off of each other. I've heard Derik on his daily radio show talk about you and Mark and everyone that makes up the IndyCar network, and just how radio network and how you guys just feed off of each other. Is it you guys go out to dinner all the time just to keep the chemistry up, or is it just you guys meet up on a weekend and you're like, okay, here's what we're going to do, and then break and go away?
Yeah, that's the thing, Josh, is, I just started my 16th year, and I'm still kind of one of the younger guys on the network, because Mark James has been doing this for, I think he's closing in like 30 years. Jake's been doing this nearly 20 years. Michael Young, track dude, he's been doing about as long as I have. So, honestly, they're like my uncles. As soon as I get around them, it's like we haven't seen each other in a week or so. It's a great. We are the ultimate ball busters. There's no doubt about that. We love giving each other a hard time. They're great guys to joke around with. But the cool thing is like, as soon as the mic flipped and it's showtime, like, there's nobody that I trust more than those guys. And I think it shows, because especially in radio when we're doing the, I always compare it to being in the backyard with the baseball mitt on and you're out there with 3 or 4 years and you're just tossing the ball around in the circle. That's essentially what we're doing when we call these races. And I know based on how Mark James talks, I know when he's going to end his sentences. I know how he ends, how he's going to drop it to me in turn 1 at the Indianapolis 500. And Michael knows, the keys that he's looking for with my voice and Jake and Kristen Arian and around the entire track. So, yeah, man, they're a great group of guys. If you guys had Jake Query on, I'm sure you could have talked to him for like 3 or 4 hours because he might be the most interesting man. I thought Indianapolis, but he might be one of the most interesting guys in the country. But, yeah, it's a cool group. And like I said, we've been doing it together for so many years that those guys, they're like family. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Just 2 more questions. My next question, I ask this of everybody that comes on that's involved with IndyCar in any way. We're doing this podcast to try to, expand out IndyCar and get it out into the ether more so we can grow the viewership. What do you think that Doug Bowles and Roger Penske and the entire IndyCar organization needs to do? What is one, if you could go and fix one thing that is going on in IndyCar that is you feel is holding it back from expanding and getting out there to more viewers, what would that be? What would you change?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I love the fact that your guys' podcasts and others like it exist because the more content that IndyCar can push out, the better. And that's maybe a small one, is I would love to see more on the marketing side and the content side. I mean, you guys know how it is. In 2025, we're all sitting there looking at our phones way more than we should be. But that's how, I mean, that's what people do in their free time. So I think IndyCar needs more content online. But from a bigger picture, schedule has always kind of bugged me. I mean, the fact that we've started this year, you go to St. Pete and then you got a couple weeks off. And then you go to Thermal and you got a couple weeks off. And now we go to Long Beach and you got a couple weeks off. And it's always kind of bugged me that especially the spring portion of the schedule. I mean, good Lord, once we hit the summer, I mean, we're going to hit the ground and running, and it's racing just about every other weekend. But I just feel it's so hard to build momentum, especially off of the new Fox contract and all the great commercials and everything that they've done. To have these big lulls in the schedule, I think is just a killer. So I would love to see some change there. And then obviously the big topic over the last several months has been we need a new race car. I mean, there's just no other way around it. We've been running this same chassis for so long, and it's gotten so heavy with the way it's changed and now with the system. And honestly, I think it's affected the racing. These cars are so heavy that they need more horsepower. We need to put more power to them because I think it's hurt the racing a little bit. So obviously, I would love to see a lot of horsepower, take some downforce away, and make it a really compelling and interesting race car in a time in motorsports where it just seems like everything's so neutered. So, yeah, I mean, there's at times I feel like there's a ton of momentum behind IndyCar, but then, as you guys point out, there are definitely things that I think need to change for this thing to really take off and go where I think a lot of fans and folks like you and I would like to see it go.
Yeah, you hit on the main part. I mean, the 3 of us are constantly talking about the scheduling. You start off and then you take 3 weeks off. Then you get another race. You race at Thermal, and now we've gone almost 3 weeks again without a race, and it's maddening. I know there's not a lot of tracks that they can go to. In the springtime, it's got to be somewhere warmer, but there's got to be. We're thinking with Arlington coming in next year, maybe the lull won't be as bad if they keep Thermal on the schedule, which I'm not sure with how uneventful that race was, in my opinion. But we'll see. And that was all my questions. I was trying to think of a question about the Panthers, but the only thing I could think of is Cam Newton, and that's about the only thing. Bryce Young is a bright star. Hopefully, he turns it around and can help you guys out. But Nick, I want to thank you for sending some time out for us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll just add, I mean, you mentioned that Arlington race I think is going to be a big deal, and I think Nathan Brown from the Indy Star had an article today kind of talking about the schedule, and it seems like, I don't think anything's been confirmed, but it seems like there's momentum for a race down in Mexico City, which is also great. I don't know exactly when that would fall on the schedule. So I'd like to see it, the schedule grow a little bit. And also, listen, I'm an Indiana guy, and I grew up going to, USAC short track races, so I'm an oval guy at heart. I'd love to see a couple more ovals added to the schedule. But as you on Josh, I mean, especially in the springtime, the weather has to be right, and then certainly, NASCAR owns like 85-90% of the ovals, major ovals in the country, which kind of takes IndyCar out of the running to race a lot of those tracks. So, but yeah, man, it's been great to join you guys, and I appreciate it.
Nick, before you run, last question that I have has to do with Kyle Larson. I know a lot has been talked about, obviously, last year, his attempt at the double, and we all know how that turned out. But Kyle, being the driver and the competitor that he is, he's going to try to give it another go this year. And I know last week his livery was unveiled for Indy in next month, which I think that car is one sharp-looking car. Love that they added Prime Video as a sponsor, tapping into that. But what's your thoughts on Kyle Larson? Potentially, he is a dark horse of mine to win the 500 this year. Obviously, you think back 1 year ago, he was just one hiccup in the pits away from a top 5 finish. But what are your thoughts before you leave on Kyle Larson potentially winning the 500 this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, it's just an awesome story, and I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad that the guys like Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon, not so much Jeff Gordon, it was more of a Rick Hendrick thing, kind of loosened up his stance on allowing guys to go out and do this stuff. Because let's be honest, this was something that I think we all would have loved Jeff Gordon try, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So it's an awesome story. I think it's so cool. I mean, you guys remember the buzz when Fernando Alonso came over, and that caused, the just international viewers to spike, and the interest in the 500. The interest in the 500 is always strong, but these are the type of stories that I think make it. You look back at the history of the 500, and you think back to the British invasion when Jim Clark and Graham Hill and Jackie Stewart came over, and how big that was, and obviously.
Did we lose Nick there momentarily?
I think we may have lost Nick for a moment or so.
Yeah, it does. It does definitely look like we did. Hopefully, we'll be able to maybe get him back soon. I'll have to send him a message to notify him that he dropped out. We'll get him back here, in the distant future. But huge thanks to Nick for coming on. Definitely love his insight. And speaking of insight, a guy that we've missed here the last few weeks. Who was finally able to make it back. Mike, I know it's been a rough few weeks for you. Definitely glad to have you back, and hopefully everybody, every family is doing well.
Yeah, man, good to be back. Glad to be back talking IndyCar betting. Love to do it and what to do and talk about. So good to see you guys and ready to make some money.
Yeah, I think everyone else is too. I know they've missed you the last couple of weeks, but Long Beach this week, it's a track we're all familiar with. Obviously, the chalk, as they say, would be Alex Palou, but I'm willing to bet Mike's got a little more in his bag outside of Alex Palou.
Yeah, Alex Palou is the favorite right now, plus 225. I'm looking on DraftKings right now as we speak. I just pulled it up. I think he opened 250, so some people must have bet him. Followed by Joseph Newgarden at 4.5 to 1, Herta 6.5 to 1, Power 8, McLaughlin 8, Award 8, and Kirkwood 9. Really, it's probably as far down as the odds boards as you're going to want to go. But look, this is a tough one. Long Beach. I always used to lean in Andretti on these tracks, but Penske was strong the last couple of years, and then we got all this stuff coming with the new cars. So. Penske seems to have really focused on their street package. So this is a tough race to bet. The way I'm going to attack this race is I'm probably not going to attack much of those odds I just listed off. Two guys jumped out to me. If I had to make some small bets, I'd be looking at Herta at 6.5 to 1. or I'd be looking at McLaughlin at 8-1. McLaughlin qualified at the top at St. Pete, street course, bump, similar. McLaughlin's come out and he said that he wants to focus on his street racing and doing better at that this year. And he's obviously started off the year hot. He got nipped by Palou at St. Pete, but I think the way I'm going to look to bet this is kind of wait for qualifying, maybe watch some practice. If you see some guys, pop up in practice with some big times, then yeah, I might look to jump in before the race, before qualifying odds. But I think the smart way to do it is let them qualify, see what we get, and then kind of hit the top 3 market. We know that you need to be in the top 5, top 4 to win this race or to finish in the top 3. So I'll be looking at the top 3 market. I think it's going to be Penske and Andretti cars. You always I don't think Palou wins this race. He doesn't have that great history here, but again, he didn't have a good history at St. Pete. So you got to worry, like he might be, I've heard some people talk, Palou is going to pull the Max Verstappen, for the F1 reference from years back where he just smokes the field every single race. I don't see that happening in IndyCar. It's too competitive. These guys are too close. There's a chance he's got some stuff with his hybrid car figured out with tires and fuel that others don't. And Ganassi is darn good at strategy. I think they've kind of passed up Penske in terms of running strategy on these races. But, I think there's money to be made. It's going to be less. The odds are going to be lower. You're going to have 2-to-1s, plus 100s, maybe even money. But I think you attack the top 3 market and kind of wait for qualifying and wait and see. There's going to be a lot of wait and sees with these hybrid cars, but that's my plan.
Josh, Michael, any betting questions here as we have our betting expert on?
No, Mike pretty much set us all straight on how to bet this. The only thing I have to say is chomp chomp. Congratulations to your Gators. That had to have been a great win. Did you take the Gators -1.5 last night?
Oh, better yet, man. I had probably I made a lot of money last night. Obviously, I went to school there. I followed the team. I knew we were good. And I was back in August. I got them in Vegas on a Vegas trip at 50-1. So I had a 50-1 and a 45-1 ticket in my pocket. I decided not to hedge any of it and just let it ride. I did bet them live at plus 4.5, a little bit of a hedge when they were losing by 12, I think. But man, they made me sweat. But it was awesome. It was an awesome run to watch them go to the Final Four. So yeah, I'm going to blow some of my Gator championship money on Long Beach and the Indy 500. Heck, I might actually, I may be going to the Indy 500 on my Gator winnings here. I've talked to my buddy Tony, and I might be joining you guys in Indianapolis using some of these Gator winnings. I just have to figure out a way to get out to Vegas to cash these tickets and come home with some dollars. But yeah, Gators did me well, and now the IndyCar betting account is ripe with funds, ready to go.
That is awesome. I'm happy to hear that. 50-1. That's a heck of 50-1, and that's 95-1. That's crazy. So congrats on that. We're glad to have you back on the podcast. We're getting ready to ramp up on more races coming, and it's going to be a great year. I know it is. Mike, you got anything? Michael, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'm just sad that Duke didn't make it to the Final Four because I think that would have been a really good game. But yeah, I think when we talk racing, and earlier we talked about the past winners, it screams Honda to me. And I know Penske's definitely worked a little bit harder, and McLaughlin for sure. But for me, it looked like Honda was just the all-out bet here.
Yeah, that's why I mean, Herta was the guy. I always like Herta in this race. Herta usually has a history of just not winning, but he broke that a little bit towards the end of last year. And like I said, it's a tough race. It's tough to pass. You really got turn 1, and you got strategy. You pass in the pits, right? So you do overtake, undertake on this race. So it's really more about like, let's see where they qualify. And, the books are going to post top 3s, top 5s. DraftKings has been treating the drivers like horses, and you bet it like horse racing. I almost hit a superfecta in thermal Had the top three, had two of the top three, but made a bunch of money. Ben, the driver, I think it's funny that they have the drivers like horses, but I think they have a bigger hold when it comes to that. So whatever, at least there's something to bet. We have to adapt and learn, and we still have more information than the books do. But yeah, I think you're right about Honda. I don't know though. I think we're gonna have to watch. Like, these new cars are kind of screwing with some of my past data, and some of the research. It's all brand new, and I like to look at numbers. But at the same time, you have to listen to what they say, pay attention to practice, pay attention to qualifying, and then put that together, what about betting the numbers, and try to walk away. But look, yeah, maybe I might miss Herta at 6-1, but if I can get him for a top three at 2-1, that's still, if it's a winner's a winner.
I know you talked a little bit about maybe potentially coming to the Indianapolis 500, which I think I can speak for all of us. Definitely love to have you. Obviously, we'd finally get a chance to hang out and meet for the first time. But it's never too early to start looking at your bets for the Indianapolis 500. And this may be a little too early, Mike, but any favorites that you like so far?
I've made one bet, and it's Award. Made it in January. I believe it's I got it at 8-1. It's now 7-1. I think I've seen Joseph float a little higher. Had it up a second ago, but that's, you just got to keep an eye on that stuff. Obviously, Pelot's now moved to the favorite, I think. So Award's the only bet that I've made. I still think he's winning the 500. I was stupid. I should have saved him for my eliminator, the survival eliminator pool, or the one and done. But I used him at St. Pete. But I think it's Awards. I think he paid his dues to the track last year. I think it's his show. So that's the only bet I've made. I might, if Newgarden gets up to 8-1 or in that range, I could be interested in that. Otherwise, I'll probably, the numbers always get better as we get closer to the week of. So we'll wait for that.
Our last segment, we had Nick Yeoman on from IndyCar Radio. We talked about Kyle Larson attempting his second, trying to complete the double, the 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. Would you put any money on Kyle Larson top 5 Indy or winning Indy?
Not winning. You might be able to twist my arm for a top 5. Obviously you're not going to get, I doubt you see top 5 odds out on anything right now. I'm scrolling to IndyCar right here. So Larson currently for the 500 is sitting at, I don't even know if he's on here because I'm scrolling and I don't see his name. So they haven't even, unless he's at the super. Oh, I'm sorry. 6-1. So I went too far down. He is Awards down to 6-1. Pelot's the favorite, 4.5. Newgarden 6.5. Dixon 10. McLaughlin 10. Look, I still like. I put up money on Scotty Mack. Look, Larson at a top 5 is going to be like 2-1, 2.5-1. No, I'm not going to bet that. That's for. I know he's one of the greatest drivers, out there. Period. But to jump in a car, an IndyCar, and even though he does have the experience, I don't know. I'm not sold yet. I'm gonna have to see something in practice or something in May leading up to it. So not there yet. Just too cheap for my blood. 10-1, 15-1, 20-1, maybe. I think that's more fair. But they're pricing him because they know that he's going to create a ton of hype and people are going to bet him. But I'm going to stick to the guys I know. Joseph, Award, McLaughlin, the guys I know are fast at Indy. Maybe even Pelot. Pelot is historically quick. He just always has something go wrong in the race with a pit hose or tire or something stupid. But it's a pass for me.
Mike, good stuff as always. Definitely look forward to see what your final bets are going to be this weekend for Long Beach. You or Tony, have you guys decided yet? I know it's early in the week. Maybe to do a Spaces or some type of show before then, before Long Beach kicks off on Sunday.
Yeah, nothing. We haven't. We were trading messages about the Gator title last night. He had a nice ticket on them too because I was railing on him that he needed to bet them back in September and how good we were, and nobody believed me. But nothing yet. There might be a podcast out with the Apex Insider guys. We'll have to see, but watch Twitter. Like always, I'll put my betting card out there for free for everybody to see, and you can decide if you want to fade or follow.
Mike, again, as always, huge thank you for stopping by. And for people that haven't followed you yet on X or Twitter, where can they find you at?
Yeah, just like you see on the screen, at Indy_bet. You can give me a follow and everything. It's pretty much only IndyCar betting. I think I might have posted one quote tweet about my Gator ticket, but it was a betting ticket. So that's about it. That's as far as I'll affray from anything else but IndyCar betting.
Again, Mike, good stuff as always, and look forward to seeing what cashes in this weekend.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, that was our betting expert. Definitely check him out on Twitter or X, I guess, depending on what generation that you are in, because now with college basketball over, I guess if you're really into betting, I guess you can bet the UFL. I know Josh absolutely loves the UFL. Okay, maybe not so much, but it's football. Definitely love football. Yep, that's what I thought. But yes, definitely going to hit the IndyCar hard betting wise, and Mike's one of the good ones in the game, one of the best ones in the game. I know him and Tony Donahue, who we've had on a few times, definitely know what they're talking about when it comes to IndyCar and IndyCar betting. So definitely they're good follows both on Twitter or X if you want to get into the betting circuit. I know Josh jumps in feet first. He'll tell you he won't, but Josh definitely jumps in head first, and he's also good at betting too. For if we ever did a segment where we would call it things people don't know, Josh is very good at betting. I've seen this up close and personal, not only at the books, but very good at the tables as well. He's going to downplay that, but definitely good in the books and the tables. You see right there, he is shaking his head, but don't let him fool you, folks. We talked about that. We've discussed the race. We previewed it. We had Nick Yeoman on. He did the same thing. Went through our betting portion of the show. We know where Mike's leaning to this weekend, but the most important thing, I think the most important factor maybe of this weekend's race is going to be the weather. It looks like it could potentially be picture perfect, but let's find out from the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast. Glad to have you back, sir, and hopefully you have a good report for us.
Hey guys, yeah, thanks for having me back on again. So we're going on race 3 now, right? So knock on wood, another pretty decent race weekend weather, and hopefully we can keep that going, obviously, into next month. Fingers crossed. So for Long Beach, I can tell you we don't have to worry about winds. We don't have to worry about any precip. So it's kind of two things to keep an eye on, and that's going to be temperature and some of that morning fog / low clouds. So on the temps, we should be cooling each day, Friday being the warmest, and then I think we'll get into the 60s. We'll be hard pressed to get up into the 70s on Saturday and Sunday. So I think the interesting thing here that is the session timing, because it should wind up creating a pretty good mix of temps throughout the weekend. So you've got that kind of that late afternoon Friday practice, and that, again, as your warmest day, I would expect to see temps there in the low to mid 70s. But then you roll into your next practice is pretty early on Saturday morning. You could be looking at a good 15-degree cooler difference going into that second practice, setting up in the mid 50s for temperature. And then qualifying's not too far behind it, but we should warm up probably into the mid 60s by that time. So, neither practice session really representative of the conditions going into qualifying. One on Friday, much warm, could be about 10 degrees warmer, and then you might be about 10 degrees cooler on the second practice session in the early morning. And for the race itself on Sunday, I think those temps will probably actually be a lot closer to the qualifying. You know, you're looking at probably low to mid 60s, as it's, you know, the race is a little later than the qualifying session, but because the high temp is going to be a little bit cooler, they should be pretty similar. So, you know, that's one aspect to maybe keep an eye on as we go through the weekend. And then the other noteworthy weather to watch is, you know, what the West Coasters are pretty familiar with in terms of that Pacific Ocean marine layer, right? And so that's that fog and low cloud that eventually builds inland in the overnight hours and usually into the early morning. And typically, especially this time of year, we see that kind of those clouds lift and that fog burn off, you know, with the sun around mid to late morning. But we'll keep an eye on that, right? Because it could linger around maybe a little bit later in the day, particularly Friday and Saturday. I think Sunday's starting to look a little bit better in that aspect. You know, but with maybe some of those colder temps and that wind direction being offshore, we'll just have to kind of keep an eye on that. And the impact to that, of course, you know, is if you have that very poor visibility in the morning, we run the risk maybe of having to bump some of those morning sessions, not just, you know, for IndyCar, but the other streets that are racing that weekend, right? So again, you know, how that may play into the schedule in the early morning, we'll have to kind of wait and see. It's really tough to forecast this far out exactly when and how thick that's going to roll in the morning and how it's going to linger in through there. But hopefully we can refine that at least as we get a little closer in day by day, that one, as we get into later on this week. So that's kind of the weather picture for right now. And outside of those potential morning impacts, yeah, it looks really good overall.
Definitely love what the potential weather forecast looks like for this weekend. So hopefully weather's not going to play a role in the outcome of the race at Long Beach on Sunday. If things do happen to rear their ugly head a little bit and the weather does change, where can people find that updated forecast at?
So I'm posting on 3 platforms right now pretty regularly. You can find me on X. And then I'm over on Blue Sky, and then I also upload the forecast over on Threads too. So if you guys go in there, anybody goes search it, man, I should pop right up.
Weatherman, good stuff as always. Look forward to talking to you in a few weeks' time to see what the weather's going to bring us for in Alabama. But until then, we'll talk again here in a few weeks.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys. You have a good night.
That was the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast. Definitely go check him out on Twitter or X or the other 2 platforms that he mentioned. Definitely good information that he puts out, and obviously the weather would play a big role. And Josh and Michael both know this. The weather is going to play a big role in what the bets are put down this weekend for sure. Before we get on out of here, we're going to touch on some news and notes from the week. Kind of curious to get Josh and Michael's thoughts on this before we wrap this up with a big checkered flag and put it in the bin. The first item that we have this week, I know we talked about this with Nick Yeoman, but Arrow McLaren and Hendrick Motorsports did unveil Kyle Larson's 2025 Indianapolis 500 livery, and then adding the new sponsor of Prime Video to this car as well. Fellas, I think, and as I touched on earlier, I think this is a sharp-looking car. I have Kyle Larson, obviously one of the favorites to win the 500. I see I'm in the minority in that, but aside from that, thoughts on the design, the colors, which I think they pop, and I think they're bright, and absolutely love that Prime Video is going to be on board this year.
Sleek car, nice lines. I mean, that big Prime right there on the side just sticks out. You know, Bezos has got to be happy about the design of that car. But it's a sleek car, and I can't wait to see what Larson does. Hopefully, we have a clean race that doesn't have any weather delays like we did last year. Because as we all know, Rick Hendrick has put his foot down that the Coca-Cola 600 is Larson's main goal, is his main focus. He's if he can do it, he can do it. If he can't, he's going to haul his butt out to Charlotte to get there, whether he races in the 500 or not. So I like the car. Maybe they'll have them in the bigger model cars, and Derik can grab one and put it on display.
I'm actually not a big fan of it. I actually like last year's car better. I like more of the papaya on there than all the Hendrick car blue. But luckily they don't pay me to design cars, because all my cars would probably be pretty lame. So yeah. But Josh, you hit on a good topic as well with Kyle Larson. I don't think it's a Rick Hendrick move, because I believe that honestly, Rick Hendrick would get a lot more eyes on Kyle Larson being in the Indy 500 again than he would in the NASCAR world for the Coke 600. But that's a NASCAR thing. NASCAR has really, I really feel like this year they introduced a new rule, and realistically, it's the Kyle Larson rule. So yeah, it's more of a NASCAR thing than a Rick Hendrick or Jeff Gordon situation. So it'll definitely be interesting. We just hope we don't have to talk about it, because we are going to have sunshine. And, as cold as it is in Indiana right now, in 1 month time, it'll be at 90 degrees and we'll all be seeking shelter from the sun.
What's going to happen is in May, it's going to be sweltering, like Michael just said, at 90 degrees. And I'm going to look at Michael and be like, you remember back on April 8th when it was 30 degrees and this is what we wanted? Or we hated having the cold weather, but now I could definitely use it. So definitely going to think back when it's sweltering, when it's an Indiana summer. So they say. Last piece of business here before we get on out of here. Another sponsor was added to the number 76 Chevrolet for Connor Daly. That's going to make its debut this weekend at the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. And then you're also going to see this sponsor on Connor Daly's car at Detroit on June 1st, and then Worldwide Technology Raceway on June 15th. If you're unfamiliar with this new sponsor, it's Mankind, not Josh, not the wrestler. I know you got excited. It's not the wrestler. But for people that are unfamiliar with this new sponsor here, Mankind Corporation focuses on the development and commercialization of incentive inhaled therapeutic products and devices to address serious unmet medical needs for those living with orphan lung diseases. And I did not know until reading this. Did you know that at one point in time, Connor Daly of Noblesville, Indiana, was type 1 diabetic? I had no idea. But anywho, I think it's a slick design. It goes away from the Juncos green that we're used to seeing. So definitely a new look for Connor Daly this weekend and going forward.
Michael, let's hear your thoughts about the car first, and then I'll base mine off yours.
Okay. So two things about this car. I wish they would have kept the Junco screen just a little bit, maybe around the aero screen there. But apart from that, I think the car is actually phenomenal. That slogan, come on, that is going to catch tons of people's attentions. It actually caught my attention, and I actually Googled it and was doing more research about the company and things like that. And those are good brands, and those are good little slogans to have, to where that does catch fans' attention, and it does help sponsorship. Those are really cool aspects. And yeah, the car, I think, looks really good. It's kind of it's kind of plain, but it's kind of not. So I guess that's the best I can describe it. Josh, you got anything better?
it's for a good cause. So I mean, anything that brings a good cause. I'm not a big fan of the, was it like a purplish type of pink? But if that's the colors that mankind has as their corporate colors, then I mean that's what you got to go with. A little bit of Juncos Hollinger green would have been fantastic in there, but hopefully it raises some awareness for what did you say? Something with child breathing. Sorry, forget how you said it, Derik.
They do medical devices for people that have different issues with their lungs.
Okay. So yeah, I know I don't have a severe lung issue, but I do have something that I do have a condition called alpha-1 antitrypsin disease that affects my lungs, and it'll affect my lungs over the years. So I may end up with something from mankind in the near future. So we shall see. It's a sleek design. Anything that Connor Daly can get out there. Any sponsors, as we all know, sponsorship here in IndyCar is a big thing. So I can't wait to see how the car looks on the track.
Yeah, definitely love that new sponsorship being added from Prime Video on Kyle Larson's to the Mankind Corporation sponsor coming to Connor Daly. So, fellas, I think that wraps it up for tonight's show. Before we step away, I want to say huge thank you to Nick Yeoman for joining us. If you missed that, go back in the replay and check that interview out. Also, huge thank you to Mike. Just some great advice this weekend. How to place bets, how to hedge bets on IndyCar, and then the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast, stopping by and giving what the weather is going to look like this week at Long Beach. Also, too, huge thank you goes out to both Josh and Michael, as always, for taking time out of their busy Tuesday nights to step on this show here for about an hour or so as we talk IndyCar. Can't wait to see what the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach is going to hold this weekend. Always check the Push to Pass podcast Twitter or X for updates. Also, the website down there at the bottom too for articles. Myself, Josh, and Michael put those out on a daily basis. And then also you can go over to yournews.com and find articles there from the Push to Pass podcast as well. So like I said, for myself, Josh, Michael, and everyone else here at the Push to Pass podcast, we will be back in 1 week's time discussing and reviewing what we witnessed, what we seen at the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. So until then, so long, everybody.
Goes back to back. Oh my God, unbelievable.
This is the Indy 500. It's passion, drama,
Is out.
history,
Danny Sullivan spins.
tradition, legendary.
This is the Indianapolis 500. It's the best race in the world.
This is nothing short of epic.
You just caught the Indy 500, baby!
This is May.